Stride Audio Show.
Presented by Speak English with Us.
Your colleague just asked, "Does anyone have thoughts on this?" And you froze. You had an idea. A good one. But the words wouldn't come out.
And then someone else said exactly what you were thinking. 3 sentences. Done.
That moment when you realize you just muted yourself. Again?
If that's happened to you, you're in exactly the right place. This is English Stride, and I'm Leo.
And I'm Maya. This is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too. We've got you.
Today's topic, how to speak up in meetings without waiting until your sentence is perfect.
Because here's the thing. You don't need a perfect sentence. You need a structure that works fast enough for real conversations.
And we discovered one method that actually changes how you think before you open your mouth.
But before we get into that, quick question. When someone asks for your opinion in a meeting, what do? Option A, you jump in immediately, even if you're not ready. Option B, you wait until you have the perfect sentence, and then the moment's gone. Drop your answer, A or B, right now.
I think we both know which one most people pick.
Guilty. Definitely B. For years.
So here's what this episode is going to do for you. We're going to show you a 3-step structure, position, reason, example, that lets you start talking before you've figured out the whole sentence.
It's called pre-commitment cueing, and it works with how your brain actually processes language under pressure.
And there's one thing we discovered while testing this. The first word you say is the hardest. After that, it gets easier every single time.
We'll also have our word tour at the end. 5 expressions you'll actually use in real meetings. Stay until the end for that.
Right now, you're probably commuting, making coffee, or sitting through another meeting that could have been an email.
Wherever you are, we're glad you're here. And later, we'll give you one tiny trick to get your first word out faster. But first,
let's talk about why smart people go silent.
I keep thinking about one meeting last month. I had an idea about the timeline, but I sat there smiling and nodding like a decorative plant.
A decorative plant is brutal and weirdly accurate. You were probably sweating, checking the screen, and telling yourself, wait, not yet.
Exactly. My face went hot, my shoulders froze, and by the time I decided to jump in, the conversation had already moved on.
That's the real problem. It's not that you don't know what to say. It's that you try to sound confident only after your brain has built a perfect speech.
And that perfect speech is usually the trap. You want to get to the point, but you keep buffering in your head, trying to pack in every detail at once.
That's where chunking helps. Instead of one giant sentence, your brain handles little pieces. One idea, one reason, one example.
So, in the meeting, the pressure isn't say everything. The pressure is just start. And that first tiny move can be a pre-commitment cue, a little signal to yourself that you're speaking now, not later.
Right. A pre-commitment cue is like pressing the gas pedal before the car fully wakes up. You don't wait for perfect comfort. You move first, and then the sentence follows.
I like that. And the first phrase can be very small. I think, or from my side, or my main point is. You don't need a speech. You need an entry point.
Exactly. In one team call, I watched someone say, my main point is we need more time. That was it. No fancy language. But everyone listened.
Because it sounded confident even though it was simple. The confidence came from the structure, not from fancy vocabulary.
And it helps you back up the idea without dumping your whole brain on the table.
Dumping your whole brain on the table is a terrifying image.
I know, I've done it. I start with one sentence, Then suddenly I'm explaining the project history, the budget, my childhood, and a spreadsheet no one asked for.
That's the meeting version of overcooking pasta. You just keep stirring because you think more time means better results.
But in meetings, more time usually means more pressure. That's why you want to get to the point fast. Then back up your point with one clean reason.
Let me show that with a real example. Suppose your manager says, "Any thoughts on the launch delay?" A quiet version is, "Maybe we should think about it more." That's too soft.
A stronger version is, "I think we should move the launch by a week because the client still hasn't approved the final copy." Clear, specific, useful.
And if you want to sound confident, the trick isn't to speak louder. It's to sound organized. One idea, one reason, one example.
Like this from my side, the delay makes sense because the design team is still waiting for feedback. In our last project, that same delay caused extra revisions. Boom. That's a full answer without being huge.
That example also shows why examples matter. They stop your idea from floating around like a cloud with no shape.
A cloud with no shape is exactly how my first drafts look.
Same. And when you hear someone else speak too fast in a meeting, you don't judge them for not being poetic. You just want the message to land.
Which is why the best speakers often sound simple. They get to the point, then they back up their point, then they stop.
There's a rhythm to it, like a 3-step dance. Start, support, land.
And if you're nervous, you can rehearse that rhythm out loud. Ask yourself, what's my opinion? Then answer in 3 pieces: position, reason, example.
Just 30 seconds. That's enough. Seriously, you don't need a 5-minute masterpiece to be heard.
And the weird part is, when you stop trying to be impressive, you usually sound more confident.
Right? Like your brain finally unclenches its jaw.
One more thing. If you feel yourself freezing, don't wait for permission from your own thoughts. Jump in with a starter phrase.
I think. I'd add, my view is, small openings, big results.
And if the conversation keeps moving, that's okay. You didn't fail. You practiced entering the room.
That's such an important shift, because the goal isn't to be flawless. The goal is to be present.
And by the way, there's a phrase for this. We'll break it down later in our word tour. You're going to hear these same ideas again, but with the exact language you can use.
So stay with us. In the next part, we'll take this messy meeting feeling and turn it into something much simpler. So here's the disagreement I keep hearing. People say, if I don't have the full answer, I shouldn't jump in. But I think that's exactly the wrong rule.
I don't buy that. In a meeting, half-formed thoughts can waste time. If you can't get to the point, you're just adding noise.
I get the concern, but that's missing the whole picture. You're not trying to deliver a final report in one breath. You're trying to move the conversation forward.
But what if your partial idea sounds weak? Then you don't sound confident and people stop trusting you.
That's why the structure matters. You don't throw out a vague comment and hope for mercy. You say your position, back it up with one reason, and then stop. That actually sounds more confident than rambling for 2 minutes.
Still, I think people overrate speaking early. Sometimes the room needs silence. If everyone jumps in too fast, the best idea gets buried.
True, but silence and hesitation aren't the same thing. Silence can help you think. Hesitation can make you disappear. The point is to choose your moment instead of waiting for a perfect one that never comes.
Fine, but if the idea isn't fully formed, you might back up something you don't really believe yet.
Not if you keep it honest. You can say, my current view is, or based on what we know so far. That leaves room for change without making you sound unsure.
But isn't that just a polite way of sounding vague?
No, because vague and flexible aren't the same. Vague hides the idea. Flexible shows your thinking is still active. That's a huge difference in a live meeting.
I see that, but I still worry about people who aren't fast speakers. They may hear this advice and think they have to perform under pressure.
That's why the goal isn't speed for its own sake. The goal is a clean path, one sentence for your view, one sentence to back it up, one short example. That pattern lowers the mental load.
Mental load sounds nice, but meetings are messy. Interruptions happen. Someone talks over you. The agenda shifts. Your neat little structure can fall apart in 10 seconds.
Absolutely. And that's why you need a tiny entrance, not a perfect speech. If the room is messy, a small clear sentence still works. In fact, it works better because it survives the noise.
So you're saying the mess proves your point.
Exactly. And here's the practical part. If someone interrupts, you don't restart from zero. You say, just to finish my point. Or, let me add one thing. That's how you sound confident without sounding aggressive.
Okay, but I'm going to push back again. Sometimes people speak up with a weak opener. Then they never recover. They start with, I just think maybe, and everyone tunes out.
That opener is too soft, yes. But that's not an argument against speaking up. It's an argument for better phrasing. Compare that with, I think we should delay the rollout because the client feedback isn't final yet. Same nervous person, much stronger sentence.
Fair. But what about the fear itself? The moment before speaking is still awful. Your chest tightens, your mind blanks, and suddenly even simple English feels slippery.
Oh, I know that feeling. And that's exactly why you rehearse tiny frames. You don't need to invent language under stress. You borrow a frame you've already practiced.
Like a template, but less robotic.
Exactly. Not a script. A frame. I think because, for example, you fill the shape with your own idea.
That actually sounds manageable. I can hear myself using it in a real meeting.
Let's test it. Topic, should we change the project deadline? Give me a one-line opinion.
I think we should keep it. Debuff.
Good start. Now stop there for a second. Don't chase perfection. Add one reason.
I think we should keep it because the team is already aligned on the current plan.
Nice. Now back it up with one example.
In the last phase, changing the date caused 2 extra rounds of edits.
That's it. See? You didn't need a grand speech. You just needed a clean path.
And if someone asks a follow-up, then you can add detail. But you don't start with detail.
Right. Start with the frame, then expand if needed. That's the whole point. You get to the point first, and then you support it.
So the rule is, don't hide behind a perfect sentence.
Yes. And don't wait until you sound fearless. Speak while you're still a little nervous.
I can live with that. The goal isn't to become the loudest person in the room.
It's to become a person who can enter the conversation, stay in it, and finish a thought without shrinking.
And when you do that enough times, you start to sound confident because you've earned the rhythm.
Exactly. And that rhythm is what we'll keep practicing. In a moment, we're moving into our word tour, where we'll break down the 5 expressions you heard today and show how they work in real meetings.
If you've ever felt like your ideas arrived late, you're not broken. You just need a clearer route in.
And now you've got one. So we've got the pattern now. Start with your view, add one reason, then give one example.
And that tiny shift changes everything, because you stop waiting for a perfect sentence.
In a real meeting, that means you can jump in sooner, get to the point faster, and sound confident without overthinking.
Next, we'll break down the 5 phrases you heard today and make them feel natural, not memorized.
Okay, now that we walked through the problem, let's go back to the exact phrases that made this whole meeting strategy work.
Right, And I like that we heard them in context first, because in real meetings, nobody pauses and says, "Here's your vocabulary lesson."
Thankfully, no. So let's start with the phrase that gets you through the door, jump in.
To jump in means to start speaking at the right moment, before the chance disappears. It's not about interrupting badly, it's about entering naturally.
Right. And in a meeting, you might hear, "Can I jump in here?" That's short, polite, and very useful, especially when the discussion is moving fast.
It also protects you from that awful feeling of waiting too long. You don't need a dramatic entrance. You just need a clean one.
Like opening a door instead of kicking it down.
Exactly. And now the next one is the phrase that keeps your thought from wandering in circles. Get to the point.
To get to the point means to say the most important thing clearly and quickly. It's what you use when the meeting starts drifting into side stories.
And that's why it matters. If you say, "Let me get to the point," people expect a clear message. They listen differently.
A tiny example, "Let me get to the point. We need more time." That's clean, direct, and not rude.
And notice how that sounds better than circling around the idea for a minute. You're not being cold. You're being efficient.
Then there's the one that changes your tone. Sound confident.
To sound confident means to seem sure about what you're saying. Not perfect, not loud, just steady.
That's the part a lot of learners miss. Confidence isn't a big personality performance. It can be a calm sentence with a clear structure.
Like, "I think we should delay it." That can sound confident if you say it plainly.
Exactly. The sentence doesn't need decoration. The certainty comes from how you organize it.
Now let's talk about the phrase that gives your idea real support. Back up.
To back up your idea means to support it with a reason or an example. Without that, your opinion floats away.
Like a balloon with no string.
Yes, and nobody wants that in a meeting. You can say, "I back that up with last quarter's numbers," or "Let me back that up with one example."
That's such a practical phrase because it tells people you're not just guessing. You've got something behind the idea.
And it doesn't need to be huge. One reason is enough. One example is enough. That's what makes the point land.
Finally, there's the phrase that closes the loop neatly. Wrap up.
To wrap up means to finish a discussion or speech in a clean, clear way. It's the opposite of trailing off and hoping people guess your ending.
Which, honestly, I've done before. I just keep talking until the room gets quiet in a very uncomfortable way.
We've all seen that meeting ghost story.
A good example would be, to wrap up, we need one more review before launch. Short, finished, done.
And in real life, that phrase is useful because it signals closure. People know the point has landed and the conversation can move on.
So, if we put it all together, the flow is simple. Jump in, get to the point, sound confident, back up your idea, then wrap up clearly.
That's the whole meeting rhythm. No dramatic speech, no perfect grammar panic, just a clear path from idea to voice.
And since you heard these phrases in real context, they should feel much easier to use when a manager suddenly says, "Any thoughts?"
Exactly. You don't need to memorize a textbook. You just need these 5 phrases to live in your mouth for a while.
That sounded odd, but it's true.
It is true. Try one tiny practice today, pick a work question, answer in 3 parts, and use one of these phrases naturally.
And keep it short. Real confidence often sounds simple.
One last thing. If you heard yourself use even one of these today, that's progress.
Seriously, the goal is not perfection. The goal is movement.
So today we build a simple path for real meetings. Jump in, get to the point, sound confident, back up your idea, and wrap up cleanly.
And the big idea is this. You don't need a perfect sentence to deserve space. You need a clear starting point, a reason, and a small example.
If you freeze in meetings, try this for 1 week. Record a 30-second answer to one question, then replay it once and make it shorter.
And add one more practice. Before your next meeting, write one starter line on a note. Something like, I think we should, or from my side. That tiny prep can change everything.
I also love the idea of using a real meeting moment as practice, even if it feels small. One sentence spoken earlier is better than a perfect idea left inside your head.
I learned that the hard way. I used to wait so long that the topic moved on without me. Very efficient if your goal is emotional suffering.
Oh, that's painfully relatable. But once I started using a simple frame, I noticed something surprising. I wasn't just speaking more, I was thinking more clearly.
That's the real payoff. The structure helps your brain carry less pressure, so your voice shows up sooner.
So here's your challenge. Choose one meeting this week, use one of today's phrases, and keep your point in 3 parts only.
Then notice what changes. Not just in how you sound, but in how you feel while speaking.
And next time, we'll keep building on this with more practical English for real life, not classroom perfection.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments which part of meeting English is hardest for you right now.
We read every single comment. Thanks for listening and keep showing up in the conversation.
Bye for now.